Broken things can become a blessing if you let God do the mending. Welcome to Broken to be Blessed Network, where dynamic women will share their experiences that will inspire, and experiences that have turned out to be a blessing. Now here's your host, Samantha McNeil.
Hello, everyone. Welcome again to Broken to be Blessed Network. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button because you don't want to miss all the fun that is happening right here, all the inspiration and the empowerment and the testimonies. Tonight, I have with me two lovely ladies. They are going to be sharing their testimony and their journey with us. It's a journey that is somewhat emotional, a journey of lust, but they are strong, I know, and I have seen that, knowing both of them personally. And I'm so happy that they are here with us to share their their journey and that they can encourage a mother that is faced with this same situation. Hello, ladies, how are you doing this evening?
Hi, Miss Samantha. We are well. I am
I'm
well.
blessed and
I've answered for
blessed and
Olivet.
highly favored. Blessed and blessed. I'm
Ye-
happy to be here and thanks for the invitation.
Thank
Yes,
you. Happy to have
Wonderful.
you too.
thank you so
All
much.
right,
And nice to meet you, Miss Crawford.
Yes, Miss Olivet.
go ahead, Marsha, and tell us a little about yourself.
Okay, all right. So I'm Marsha. Marsha Crawford is the name. I am I'm originally from Westmoreland. I was born in Westmoreland, right? But I've been all over the place, lived in Hanover for a while, and I'm now currently living in Montego Bay. I am a librarian by profession, right? And I saw you had a question about what do I do for fun? To be honest, I think I've gotten so boring, but I enjoy, quiet moments these days. Just, a little quiet time sometimes. That kind of just brings me back to a nice place. But I enjoy music, different genres. I mean, gospel definitely tops the list, but I do enjoy music on a whole. I like a good movie as well. And I enjoy reading, or used to. I used to be an avid reader, but I have time no longer to do that, so the books have eluded me. But definitely, and I love to laugh. I love being around people who make me laugh. I love a good joke. And so, I tell people, if you're gonna give a joke in a particular setting, please don't do it close to me because I really don't laugh very softly. I am a very loud laugher. So, I enjoy laughing. And I think those things, those elements, definitely they kind of keep you sane and above the waters, with all that's taking place around us. And definitely I'm a prayerful person. That is always my go-to place, whatever issue. Jesus is never my last resort. He's always my first resort. He's my counselor. So I have to go to him, take everything to him. And I mean, it's not cliche for me. It is really what I practice, whatever decisions, life decisions, even simple things, I really have some time with God, and I talk with him a lot because that is where I find myself. I find guidance. I find that wisdom that I need to make it every day. So really, I'm a prayerful person, and I try to maintain that. Sometimes, yes, it may not be down on my knees and on hours they're doing, but Paul says to pray without ceasing, and it's you go through the days, you have a short prayers, you talk to God. Sometimes you might sound like a crazy, you talk out loud sometimes too, where what you're talking to him, and that is just who I am. I down to earth. I don't like fake. I like real. So this is just me. I like to be around people who are real and genuine. And on a whole, I love people. I love um to share, and I like to know that persons are doing well. So whatever way I can, if it's not material, but whatever way I can be there for somebody, maybe encouragement, because encouraging words sometimes make such a difference, or just a smile, kind gesture. Those are the things that I try to live by daily. So in a nutshell, and I'm a mother of 3. Oh my God, let me make a point of this statement. A mother of 3. I went to the doctor on Monday to do a medical, and the doctor said to me, remind me how many children you have again? And I paused, guys, I paused because, it's the first question since my son died, and I'm like, in my mind, it was like, oh, she asked me how many children I have again, my son died. What should I say to her? But then I said, Marsha, this is a medical thing. She just wants to know how many children you had. And I said 3. But I think about I don't know, persons who may not come into a place, that question could have thrown them off into a different total breakdown and all kind of stuff. But I give God thanks. So I am here, I'm well, and that's kind of me in a nutshell. I'm Mr. Crawford's wife, Nigel Crawford, right? And I have grandchildren as well, so that is it.
Nice. Wow. Thank you for letting us know some things about you, Marsha. It was really fun listening to you. And when I hear you say that you love to laugh, you just pull something in me, because oh yes, I love to laugh too. So yeah. All right, thank you. Okay, Olivet, go ahead and tell us a little about yourself.
Good night, everyone. Oh, I'm a people's person. I love to help. I'm in the helping profession. I'm a mother of 3 boys, and the youngest, I lost the youngest 8 years ago. I'm also a guidance counselor and a social worker. I'm from the parish of St. James. I was born in a little district called Malden in a community called Maroontown. And I've now relocated to Westmoreland. So I am in the opposite of Miss Crawford. I love to cook. I love to bake. I have a passion for reading. They used to call me the Black Heart when I was growing up, because every Nancy Joe series, I would win the essay competitions at the library, whatever it is. I traveled the world in books until I really started traveling the world. I'll take on a passenger on a plane, on a bus, and I'll talk to that passenger. It's as if we met years ago. I am a fun person. I love to laugh. I love life. I love to make people happy. I crack up my students, and sometimes I crack up myself. Some folks ask me, I work in Montego Bay at the Herbert Morrison Technical High.
Oh wow.
I'm the lower school guidance counselor. People will ask, why is it you travel all that way? I said, you get the time to meditate, you meet new people on the road. You don't worry yourself about the gas and the money, because it cannot buy life, it cannot buy health. And as I was told by my son who passed, Mommy, the only thing that money is good for is to spend it on someone you love or on something you love. So I'm on the road, even in the traffic jam, I'll see a different shrub, a different colbert, something I never saw before. There's some drama or trauma, something to make your day different. So I love to travel. I love to travel not only in Jamaica, where I know all parishes. I've traveled so many other countries. I've gone about 8 or 12 different countries.
Oh,
So
nice.
I love to travel. I'll be on a plane for 9 hours to London, and it's like I'm just going to Savlamar because the journey seems like it ends too early because there's something going on. Definitely. So maybe I'm telling somebody about how to cook, how to bake, how to wash the clothes, something of the sort, some kind of useful information, and we're all cracking up each other. So life is a journey, and we have to make that journey worthwhile in every possible aspect of our life. So I'm here to share with you my story this evening. And thanks for the invitation.
Thank you, Olivet.
Wonderful.
I know Olivet personally, so I know that all of those are true. She'll crack you up. And she said she'll crack herself up.
That's me too.
I tell you. Oh my God.
Oh boy.
So we are ready, and Marsha, I'm going to have you going ahead and sharing your journey and your testimony with us at this time.
Certainly, certainly. Well, um, this journey in terms of recent times, because I have so many stories, I really have a lot of. We could, and if next year this time we'll be recording if I told you all the testimonies. But this journey, recent journey, my son, my eldest child, he was killed in April of this year. He didn't live with me. He was living with his other half, his girlfriend, and they have a son together. Well, it has increased because a second baby was born after he passed. Um, he lived in Hanover. That's where I was when I had him. I was 20 when I had him. So wonderful child, Dwayne Anthony Anderson. Um, for the first how many years of his life, 9, 10, he had me all to himself because there was no Mr. Crawford or anybody like that then. So we were together. The bond was very strong. Had a very strong relationship. Asked me all kinds of questions when he was growing up, and went to church together. He was very close to my parents as well. So there's a tight bond. He when I broke up with his father took him. It was one of my heartbreaking moments. From then I've been crying a lot of tears for this child for a number of years. So from then my heart was broken back then in terms of having his father take him. Was unnecessarily taken, but I made sure that we still had time together. He was so much in love with me, and we still spent so much time together and all of that. But most of his years, it was not steadily growing with me. So he had some turbulent years in his teen years and younger adult stage. Kind of settled down in his life in recent times, working a really nice job and all of that. However, earlier this year, or late last year, he said, "Mommy, I think I'm going to leave the job." I said, "No." I encouraged him because he was having issues with persons on the job. I said, don't do that. Wherever you go, you're gonna find persons who will give you a hard time. That's just people on a whole, and regardless of whichever institution you decide to work in or wherever, you're going to find difficult people. You're just going to have to rise above that. So don't let them get into your headspace. Keep that job and keep going because you have a young family to take care of. He eventually didn't really listen, left the job. He was home, not doing much. I think on the day that it was the Thursday, April 23rd, but I was not aware of all these details until the following day. The Friday morning, April 24th, early morning, I was still in bed. I got a call. I saw Lexi, that's his girlfriend, calling me. I was like, oh, so strange, early in the morning, getting a call from her. I answered, and she said, hi, you hear anything? I'm like, I thought it a strange question. I said, no, hear anything. So she said, all right, let me talk to Nigel. That's my husband. He was about to leave the house, but I brought the phone to him and gave it to him. And I went back into my bed. But, it was playing on my mind. I was like, something is wrong. She's calling, asking me that, and then asking to speak with my husband. So there has to be something wrong. They spent some time on the phone. He was on the veranda. I was still in the room. He brought back the phone to me. The strange thing is that my husband bring back the phone to me, finished the conversation, gave me the phone, and was about to leave. And I'm like, sir, hello, what is this all about? I mean, I get this call and you're saying nothing to me. And so I knew something was wrong. I said to him, it's Duvane, right? And he said, yes. I said, what happened? Because there are so many times I've gotten calls regarding him, sometimes I try to brace myself for calls like that. So I said, what happened? And he said to me, well, he's missing. I said, oh, missing? What do you mean missing? I said, well, something to do with gun and shooting, and they don't know where he is. And I'm like, okay. I just said, okay. And I guess it didn't hit me. I guess the different stages of grief will tell you that, there's denial and all these things. And I guess the shock of it, I was not grieving just yet, but I started talking to God. And my husband left and I lying down in the bed and I was talking with God and I was like, what is taking place, Lord? What is happening? I said, well, whatever it is, Lord, just help us to get through this time. At about 7:30, I turned on the radio to listen to Mellow, and I heard a news item. It was four young men on bikes went to buy a bike in Marchtown and were ambushed. 3 were shot. One was shot and injured and escaped, but 3 are still missing. When I heard that news, I started to cry. I just broke down. I broke right down right there. I started to cry because it kind of hit me at that moment. Like, oh, this is something real. This is not a joke. This is not something no gossip. This is real. It's on the radio, Marsha. They just talked about it. So I started to cry. The days that followed, though, it was a roller coaster ride of emotions. I went through the grieving process swiftly and quickly and in every direction I can think of. I think one day I might be this way, the next day I might be another way. I remember in those days I didn't take any calls. My husband took all the calls. He spoke to everybody. He told everybody. He reached out to all the persons who needed to be reached out to. And I didn't take the calls. But he dealt with that blow for me. He just stood at the front and took it on. So appreciated of that. Days I'll just lie down in the bed curled up, crying, but not a bawling, overwhelming type of grief, but crying. Thought about his life right up to that moment. Every memory I had of him, or came up, was just going through my mind. I thought about things that I could have done differently as a mother. What could I have done to have prevented it from getting to this stage? I questioned myself. So many moments, so many days, I reasoned it out with God. Where could I have done it differently, Lord? Was it my fault? I asked all of these questions. Was it my fault? I should have stood up more and taken charge and take him and have him for myself. And then I would have been sure that, he would have been grown in the right way. He would have followed the right path. Those are the things that were going through my mind. And it was such a roller coaster for me, because I think, and I mean, this is just an assumption, seeing that his father and I broke up, and he was, back and forth, different homes, so we had different, what should I say, morals and values and that sort of thing. So mine, different, father's different. He would also visit his grandparents by his father's side. So it was like the accountability of his life. It was here, there. So I was thinking, maybe all of this contributed. Boy, I played a part in where it has ended up, in that he has lost his life. And so it was really an emotional roller coaster for me when I went through. I tell my husband, I said, and my younger children, I said, listen, I'm here and you see me, and I look like I'm managing, I'm doing fine, praise God, but you wouldn't even begin to understand what is taking place up in here. Just me and Jesus alone get that part. Just he and I alone understand what's taking place in here and in my heart. And it was such a hard time, but I tell you, God is amazing. He's amazing, because I tell everybody that I get a chance to tell that he gave me this awesome peace, the peace that we read about it in the Bible. It says that he'll give you a peace that passes all understanding. And you see, if you don't receive that for yourself, you can never understand what that means. And the fact of the matter, what I learned in this situation is that a number of times God gives us things and we refuse it, and we keep him at bay because you want to stay in that place of hurt. This is what I learned, God talking to me. A lot of people reject the peace, but I embraced that. If I didn't embrace that peace, I don't know where I would be emotionally, mentally, all of these things, if I never embrace that peace. Having that peace that passes all understanding means that you embrace what God gives you. Otherwise, you are going to find that you are going to end up constantly still having issues to deal with. It's not that you're not grieving, it's not that you don't love who you have lost, but you are not going to stay within that painful, hurtful place just to feel that hurt and pain, to prove that you love that person. God showed me that, hey, listen, Marsha, you don't need to be here to prove that you love him, You are hurting, but I give you peace. Take it and move with it. You don't have to be here a wallow in grief and all this. We know you love your son. You love your son, but wallowing in hurt and pain not going to prove your love for him. So take my peace. Take it and embrace it. Don't refuse it. And I find that a lot of us, even as Christians, we still try to keep God at bay because we want to maintain that hurt. We want to keep that hurt because we think it means that we're loving that person. I remember a friend of mine from Kingston, she texted me and she said, Marsha, I think you're your family. And you're a counselor. I'm not discounting help from persons who are counselors and all of this. But she said to me, Marsha, I think you and your family should get counseling. And I said to her, please don't feel anyway. But I went to the greatest counselor and he has dealt with me accordingly, and I'm doing well, I'm doing great. So what can a human counselor tell me that would be greater than what God has said to me? And she said, all right, because my mother went through it some years ago, and she's such a sweet Christian lady with a good relationship with the Lord. And she had insomnia for 12 years. She couldn't sleep. She couldn't this and that and whatever. I said, thanks for telling me that. I appreciate the fact that you told me that, but I am doing well. I am well emotionally. I am well spiritually. And I know that I'm well. If it comes to the point where I see that I really need to go to somebody to get that kind of counseling, I will. But I went to the greatest counselor, and he took me through this time. And so I won't be taking that path at this moment. You know, she was offended, though. I know she was offended. She hasn't really texted me since then. But I have proven God's words to be true in that I am doing well.
So has there been a breaking point ever for you? Have you ever felt like you just couldn't cope?
To be honest, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say I don't think I could cope. The early days, as I mentioned, the roller coaster in my mind, though, it was something crazy. 1 minute up, down, all kind of thoughts going through your head. Everything. I remember. Let me make a point because this is important. When he was killed in April, we didn't find his body until 5 weeks later. So there was still a hoping every day. And I learned that what people who have missing family members go through is like you're not settled in your mind because you're thinking, all right, you can walk through. I've had imaginations. My thoughts have gone to him walking in the yard. Every day me hear him voice in my head, Mommy, me good man. That's what always came to me in my thoughts in the early days. Mommy, me good. Mommy, me good. That's what I kept hearing his voice in my head. Mommy, me good. Mommy, me good. That was what I heard. I imagined him walking into the yard, coming and saying, I'm here. I'm here. It to the point where I remember dreaming about him one night. Because I never dreamt about him. I dreamt that he came home to me. And I grabbed him up and hugged him up and I said, boy, we're there for any time. You know, so we look for you. We hadn't found his body yet. So I've been searching for him, start praise God. I mean, I touch him up and I praise God, praise God. He was looking good. I mean, I said, but so where the gunshots? Where what happened? You all right? And I remember him showing me his side and all he was doing was smiling. I said, boy, you have to praise God, you know, you have to give God thanks, you know, look where you're there, you know how long we look for you. And I was in such a praiseful moment when I had that dream. I was so happy to see him. And then I remember him taking up he had some bags with him, some luggage. And then he left. He said that he was going to go to the hospital and he was leaving. And in my mind, in a dream in my mind, I was like, why am I not going with him? You know, 5 weeks afterwards, because we still were hoping that, you know, some kind of news, well, we knew that he was dead because based on information that we got, we knew that he was dead, but it's just that they couldn't find the bodies. But eventually the police did get information, and 5 weeks later, it was 3 of them that were killed that day. And they found their bodies in a 40-foot sinkhole in Marchtown, Hanover. I told people that had it not been for God, I could have been in that same 40-foot sinkhole in my mind, there with him. 40, imagine 40 feet, how far that is. I said, if it had not been for God, I could have been there mentally, spiritually, in a dark place, deep dark place there, but thanks be to God. So I wouldn't say I had a breaking point, so to speak, but there were very tumultuous days that I wasn't even sure of myself what was really going on, you know. And it's the fact that we couldn't find his body was like every day the hurt starting all over again. You hear police, you're getting information from police, or they're not giving you nothing, or you feel like, what are these people doing really?
So did you get closure when you eventually find his body and the funeral? Was there a closure feeling for you?
When his body was there was a feeling. I think maybe the closest to breaking point was the day of the funeral. I you know, it's COVID, so we don't have a lot of, you know, you don't get a chance to have a lot of your physical support with you.
Yeah.
And he was being buried at his father's family plot in Hanover. And my family and I, my small family and I, we went there. I had a lot of persons who wanted to come, but because of COVID restrictions, you know. But I tell you, that morning before I left out of my house, I got messages, I got calls, I got all kind of stuff. Marsha, we're praying for you, we're praying for you, we're praying for you. That was all I got that morning. And I remember as I stepped out of that vehicle, my whole entire body started to shake. I never expected that reaction. I just started from deep down in my belly, just start shake. The whole of me started to shake. My hands shaking, everything. I remember getting a program from his stepmother. I didn't even realize at first that it was her. And I'm holding the program and my hands are like shaking and I'm standing there. My two younger children are beside me. My mother is beside me. My husband standing up videoing and I'm crying, but if you're not near to me, I can't realize it. You can only see my tummy shaking and I'm wiping it. It was, I think maybe that was the closest point to breaking. I was just shaking and crying there. But I remember I had a part on the program to sing. I was going to sing. And I went up and I took the microphone and I said a few words and started to sing. Couple lines in the song, I felt like, ooh, Marsha, you're going to break down. Here it comes, sister, here it comes. You're gonna break down. I started and my voice faltered. And then I remember God just put this in my spirit that, hey, there's a whole army standing behind your sister and praying and holding you up. And I tell you, I took a deep breath and I finished that song. It was my husband. He realized what was going to take place. And he hurry up and he come and he hold me and he started to sing with me. He ended up a ball and all these wonderful things. And I was able to finish my song without breaking down, because God reminded me that, listen, you have an army. I don't think I would have made it through that day, but I knew there was an army of persons praying for me, standing with me in the spirit, and because of that I was able to make it through that day. But that was probably the closest point to breaking that I came to throughout the entire. I mean, I ball at home, in the early days, and when I'm talking to my kids, because we were having a lot of devotions at home. COVID, we were almost having devotions every night at home, as a family. And each night we'll talk about it. I tell the children, express yourself, talk about it. If you don't want ball, on a ball. If you don't want come talk to mommy, talk to me. Mommy can bear it. Whatever it is, I'll try my best to help you guys through it. And I mean, I had to, in those days, kind of put my grief aside, in the sense, because I still had to get up and take care of our family. I still had my kids to take care of and think about them, to be strong for them, to carry them through the day. They had school. I had work obligations and all of these things. And so I still had to turn up, sorry, mentally and physically, even when you never wanted to. I had to turn up every day with that front, so to speak. And then I go lie down back in my bed and cry, or curl up in the bed and cry and tell me I was going to take all I call them and all these things and whatever. But then I still had to push that forward. But God is amazing. And I have such a wonderful support system, I can tell you.
Wow, awesome. Oh my God. Strength. I see there where you said that it was God. So it was God who carried you through this journey, and it still carried you through this journey. Oh wow. What can you say to somebody who is going through this at this moment?
At this moment, it's not easy. I'm not going to sit here and pretend, and all of us grieve differently. You know, all of us have our different ways of grieving, and I'm not gonna say what you're doing is wrong. Hey, you need to get up and go on and move on with your life and that sort of thing. I'd never do that. I would say grieve, cry if you need to cry, bawl if you need to bawl, talk to somebody, talk to Jesus if you don't have nobody else to talk to. Definitely, he is the one that you can talk to where you can definitely get excellent results. But grieve, grieve for your loved one, grieve for your loss. It is important, you know, it is important because if you don't do that, we don't know what will take place down the line. It can be guidance counselor, Miss Olivet can tell you that maybe if you bottle up your feelings, eventually you might have a break somewhere down the line. You know, so grieve and get the support that you need. Don't keep it to yourself. Don't keep it to yourself. Talk. I mean, the early days, it may be that you really don't want a lot of people at you because I found that I didn't want to be having that a lot of talking at me, and I didn't want that. But if you need to have somebody, if it's even one person who you can speak with to release, because me tell you that roller coaster of thoughts there in your mind that you have, all the things you feel guilty, you wonder if it's your fault, you wonder if you know what could have been done differently. Talk to somebody and grieve healthily, grieve as much, but grieve not to the point where you are broken down to pieces and you can't function, because definitely you know you're gonna have to get some serious help, um, psychiatric help, counseling, that sort of thing. But believe me when I tell you, God can be trusted. God is real. He is not some fairy tale business that is there. He is real, and he will get. This is not no cliche. This is not somebody telling you something with them don't know about people. I'm sorry for those who don't speak patois. I'm so sorry. Forget that this is a very international broadcast. But yes, if you need to know that God, Jehovah, Yahweh, He is real, and He is able to help you through whatever situation it is that you're going through. Because not only were we going through grief and all these things, you know, my husband never had a job. We were financially unstable. There were days we never know where our next meal are coming, you know, coming from, that sort of thing. And I saw God just provide, just like that, every day, at all times. Provide, 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 God. And I learned from His word, a word that we know so well, that He shall supply all our needs according to His riches in glory. Sometimes we think that the riches only mean material and financial wealth, but His riches abound in mercy, in grace, in power, in peace, in love, in joy. His riches abound in those things, in life. And so we can trust Him to supply all those needs, and take it from me that God is able. So, mommy, daddy, whoever you are, you may have lost somebody, you may be grieving. Believe me, you can depend on God. He will bring you through this.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Marsha. Thank you very much for that encouragement and that empowerment for somebody who is at this time grieving. Thank you so much.